Hi guys, I hope you're well. I'm having a bit of an arts day today, but also I'm doing my Ask a Lifestyle Coach this month. So that means that, well, I do plan to go live on Instagram, and so if you're a friend of mine, then that means that if you follow me, it means that you will receive a reminder. But here's the questions that I've got for this week. So I thought I'd go through them quickly. And okay, so just to say, I'm a lifestyle and fitness coach, but really fitness comes into the lifestyle. So, so I have the two ends. So I work on, say, a decluttering and organising project where I am literally asked to come and do a job, and I don't work with the client. I do the job and then present to the client. The alternative on the other side is that I do fitness classes, and they're group fitness, and so you can come and it's an hour or 45 minutes depending which one, and they're quite independent things. But then in the middle I've got the lifestyle coaching, so that's my holistic coaching, and that means I'm looking at different aspects, so decluttering, organising, exercising, various different aspects in with of various aspects of the life of the person that I'm working with. So I've said that this month I'm available for any lifestyle questions, which can include fitness as well, and I've picked the top 5 for this week. Okay, when I say top 5, I just thought they were quite interesting questions to talk about, so send me any questions at all, and I will try and write some form of response, but some of these questions really captured what I think a lot of people have asked me. So okay, organisation in your room. How do you maximize space? Okay, so the person that sent this to me is someone who actually has a really organized lifestyle. They regularly clean, they don't have a cluttered space, but what they do have is a real interest in sport, and they've started collecting, or over their lifetime they've been collecting, but from what I know, they've acquired quite a few things, and so it's a case of, how do I display and maximize space, obviously. And so one of the things that you can do is you can implement some storage. So for example, I'm someone who has a lot of shoes, and I used to have, so I'd have boxes of shoes, and I have a cupboard where I keep box shoes, so I don't keep shoes that are open in a cupboard, but that does take up more space. So then I found myself having shoes piled on the floor. The best way to deal with that was to I've got a unit for the shoes. And that meant that instead of them being lined up along the floor, at least they were going up like this in a column. So I could see what I have. I can see what I have. They're all, organized, you can see if they need cleaning or anything like that, they're in, some of them are on my eye level. So I think in that sense, it meant that it wasn't a case of I had to get rid of loads of shoes. I just had to think about storing them in a more convenient way. I think with the person that gave me this question, they've actually started displaying things on the wall. So they collect things like football flags and scarves, and so they've started actually hanging them on the wall, which is actually a really nice display. But I think the one thing that we can't avoid when it comes to maximizing space is decluttering. So there will come a point when the wall runs out of space. There will come a point when there's no more racks left on the shoe rack to fill. And it's at that stage we need to start saying, what do I want to keep? Is it of a standard that, I would wear, or is it just something that's sentimental, cluttering my space? And so I think it's really important to think about that as well. So I'd advise storage and thinking about, getting things off of the floor, into columned storage. But I'd also think about whether, reducing what I have as well, and making sure that what I have is good quality, represents who I am. So if a t-shirt that's faded with a hole in it doesn't represent who you are, then it's time to let it go, or turn it into a duster. You can turn it into a duster for cleaning. So those would be my first areas to look at. Second question, how do I know if I need a coach? Okay, well, here's the one you might have heard before, but if you're asking the question, the chances are you probably do, or it would be worth looking into. Because if you're asking yourself that question, that means there must be an area or a couple of areas in your life which you'd like to work on. And what I would say is, some people are wary of coaches because they say, for example, how do I know this is going to work? How do I know that, they're not just trying to take my money? And well, when you see results. So, for example, if I came into your space and we were doing a decluttering and organising job, and I'd spent several hours with you and nothing had changed, I mean, if it's a case that there's a lot of resistance coming from my client, then that means that the work of decluttering, we're not ready for that yet. We need to think about what's holding us back here, and what our connection is, our relationship with these objects. But once we've got through that stage, then we can really start gaining momentum. So for me, it's always about, I want to start gaining momentum. I certainly don't want to come in and say, right, change everything now, because that's too much of a shock to the system for anybody. And we know this because my other profession is fitness. And people, oh, it's January the 1st, or I've got my new trainers, I've got my gym membership, my friends are signed up, so we're going to support each other, we're going to go to the gym, we're going to get that routine going, it's going to be amazing. Give it 2 weeks and they're like, well, I've been back at work now for 2 weeks and I'm really tired, and I don't know if I can be bothered. No, I'm not going to cancel the gym membership, I'll keep that, but no, and it's just like, that's exactly the issue. It's the same when people go on diets. Oh, I'm going to go on a diet. And it's like, well, if you're going to diet, I mean, the only reason I can see any credible reason for dieting and fasting is because you've been told that that's what you need to do. You've got an allergy, you need to remove this from your diet. It's aggravating you in some way physically, which ultimately affects you mentally because you're frustrated, you're, whatever physical kind of reaction it has on you. So I can understand people changing their diet in that sense. But in terms of changing your diet otherwise, obviously if you're overeating certain things and you're eating a lot of junk food. Okay, so what was the question? Hey, do I need a coach? Well, I suppose I'm talking about different areas of coaching, which I kind of, I do as well. So if you're implementing a diet on yourself, and I guess what I need to explain what I'm thinking here. So I'm not talking about, oh, you eat loads and loads and loads of fatty food and takeaways, and no, you don't need to change that. No, you absolutely need to change that. Absolutely. But what I'm more thinking is when people say, I'm going on a diet, I'm going on a low carbohydrate, or I'm going on a, only this type of food, or I'm not allowed to eat after this time. That's just, to me, that's nonsense. That's absolute nonsense. Oh, I can't eat after this time. Oh, it's got to be like, no, you have to find the rhythm of your own body. Some people can eat junk food all day long and it doesn't change the weight they carry, not to any significant degree that we notice. There's other people who it seems can eat quite only a small amount of certain items, and it can really affect their weight and their weight gain, because we have different metabolisms, different genetics, different ways of moving our bodies. And have you ever thought that the slimmer person might be more energetic, or have you ever thought that the person who's too slim is overdoing something. You know, there's all these kind of things we need to, you know, that are going on with people. So, you know, so if you're finding yourself in one of these positions, I think the next, you know, I don't think it's about torturing yourself and saying, right, well, I'm going to do this diet because apparently it works and so does it. Absolutely not. It's about finding what works for you. And that comes with exercise as well. So actually, I know I've got an exercise question coming up, so I better not stray into this area. The benefits of having a coach. So what would I say the benefits are? So if you're training with me, decluttering, organising, exercising, whatever it is, I also do motivation and mindset as well, which is all part of when I'm talking to you about the decluttering and organising and everything else, because obviously we're working on your mindset, your relationship to these tasks, your relationship to your environment, how you feel about your body, and what's stopping you from doing something different. You know, so I think the benefit is that when I'm in your life, as long as you want me in your life. Now, when I get to a point, so my job's quite easy to measure. So someone might say, oh, you've been in therapy a long time, or you've been, you know, part of this group for a long time or whatever. Mine's very different. If you want to declutter and organise, we declutter and organise. The job is finished when the decluttering and organising is finished, or when my client says, that's enough, I've done enough, that's as far as I'm prepared to go. That's when the job's finished. And you can, and I always like to take pictures before and after so we can say, this is where we were, this is where we are now. It's exactly the same for the fitness. So if you're coming to my group fitness, you know, and I'm your coach in that sense, you might come every week for a year, 2 years, you know, it doesn't matter, because that's your weekly release and you enjoy what I teach. If I'm your fitness coach, or you know, I don't personal train as such, but I do fitness instruction. You know, so I don't target bits of your body. You know, I actually do overall. So every session will do overall fitness. You know, and again with that, it's like, first of all, I'm not going to try and get you to do things you don't want to do. But secondly, we are going to look at your progress, and I'm going to say to you, right, well, we've been doing this for a couple of weeks. You haven't, you know, you've done really well in this. You haven't seemed to have broken your habit with that. Let's focus on this a bit more. Let's do something different. But ultimately, we're going to come to a point where you're like, right, you know, I've got the tools, I've got the skills, I can do it myself. And I pass on those skills. I mean, if you say I was teaching someone for 4 months, every single week, you know, getting them to do things like squats and lunges, and also like dance movements and weights and everything in our hour together. But I think what was important is the fact that, and I loved it, this for me, I loved it. When my client, like, there was a time I remember when I was scared and I had to take off the sound, and he was like, he just carried on dancing, doing the moves. And I realized he wasn't just there. I'm not just a distraction, you know what I mean? He's learning, he's taking in what I'm saying, he's following the music, he's loosening up his body. You know, if I said to him, right, you do your stretches, I'm just going to sort something out, he could do all his stretches. But I do them all with him because I think it's quite nice, both of ours, you know, come on, do that, yeah, or you could do that, you know, and it's quite nice. But I mean, I could equally just stand there and say, right, do this, do that one, do that one. But you know, I think we quite enjoy training together. But it's all about him, you know what I mean? So I'm not doing exercises for me, I'm thinking about what suits his body. And I think that's what the benefits of a coach are. You get my attention. You know, I'm not sitting there going, here's the formula. I'm actually saying, right, who are you? What do you want from your life? What do you value? What's important to you? What's negative to you? What causes you a lot of stress? Are those stresses things that you need to find coping mechanisms for? Or are they unnecessary stresses which you could actually alleviate, you know, or get rid of? So I think that's what's really a benefit of working with me as a coach. You know, that we can go through that together, and I can provoke, you know, some thoughts in you. You know, I don't tell you what to do. I suggest, I say, well, why don't we try this? Or let's do an exercise. Or so it's all about what your response is to that. It's not me saying, well, you should think like this, or, well, you're just putting up barriers. I hate it when people talk to other people like that. It's all your fault. You're doing it to yourself. It's like, that may work for some people, but it certainly doesn't work for a lot of others, certainly including me. Once someone starts doing that at me, I'm just like, go away, because you can give me the same message in a completely different way. And some people go, oh, is it soft kids gloves? No, it's not. People have different responses to all sorts of things, to sound, to the way people speak to you, to their environment, all sorts of stuff. And some of us don't like aggressive people, and some of us, oh, this is what happens when you're in the art studio. I was pinning it up there actually, because I've got a few different slates that I'm looking at, so it's quite funny. But yeah, these are vinyls, so I like to play a lot with vinyls. So actually I had this stuck up there, silver, and I had a few others stuck up, and I thought, oh, it's a bit crowded on camera, so I took them down. So that was quite funny. So the silver's fallen down. But anyway, so yeah, I hope to actually see you next time in another location. I just thought I'd sit in front of my coloured paper, all my golds and my reds, and well, I did have silver. But yeah, you can kind of do your colour matching. So I've got all these different colours, and anyway, it's not an art video today. Okay, so I've said quite a lot about working with a coach, but I think the last thing I'd say about working with me as a coach is that a lot of people say to me, oh, I want to, let's take the example, I want to lose weight. I want to lose weight. And I'm like, okay, how long have you felt like this? Ages. And I'm like, okay, well, let's kind of think about this. Has there been a point where you were happy and you were happy with your weight and you were quite content, and then something changed and you kind of stopped focusing on in that way, or doing those activities, or whatever it was? Oh yeah. Well, how long ago was that? Oh, 6 years ago. So how long would you say you've been unhappy with your weight? Oh, 6 years. Well, if you spend 2 months with me, you're going to feel completely different. The way you feel about yourself, the way you carry yourself, you're going to lose weight if you're doing, you're doing routines with me, or, and you're taking into account what I'm saying to you. And I'm not going to be the kind of person that says, again, I'm not going to be there going, look at the state of you, take control, because I don't think that works. Because if that worked and that attitude worked, nobody would have a problem, because we've all got criticizers in our life, and we've all got people who like to tell us, oh, you're stupid, you don't know what you're doing. The reality is, take a step back, work with someone like me. I'm not going to tell you that you're doing things wrong or anything else, because you've got drivers, and so we need to work out what they are and work with them and adapt. But essentially, if you're saying to me, oh, I've been like this for years, I'm an investment to you, because I'm telling you now, if you want me to work for you and you want me to, I don't just create a plan with people. I mean, I do if that's what they want, but I actually work with people one-to-one. And if you don't see changes in the first month, you should feel different in the first month. Within the second month, we can certainly be like, you have lost some weight, and once you start adding those activities into your life, what you crave in terms of food changes. You don't need to go on the Atkins diet. What you crave changes depending on what activities you have in your life and how much energy you exert on a physical level. So that's what I'd say to you. I think the question was, should I get a coach? That's what a coach has to offer you. Well, that's what I have to offer you. Not every coach offers you that. Some coaches offer you, cheap one-liners that they've read from someone else's book. I'm not like that. I absolutely, I don't need to say cliches and anything else. I just need to learn to you and learn and listen to what you need. And then, you know, we work out a way of moving forwards. Okay, all right, we're back to decluttering and organising. I have a massive organising job to do in my spare room. It's full of clothes and boxes. Where can I start? Okay, this is a really simple one. Okay, so you said you've got a massive organising job to do in your spare room. Okay, so this is a room that you don't spend a lot of time in. So it's probably somewhere where you're like, oh, just put it in there and close the door. It's full of clothes and boxes. So what that tells me is that the clothes aren't in the cupboard and they're not in the boxes. And then you've got boxes. Where can I start? Right, well, where I would start is with the clothes. So the things you've got out visible, like the clothes, I'd say, right, we need to pick those up, sort through them. Do they need washing or do they need recycling? Okay, you can send them to charity if they're of a decent level, or, you know, at the end of the day, if we've been stuck in this position for ages, let's just get rid. However we do it, we want to get rid. So if it's throwing it in the bin, it's throwing it in the bin, you know, and that's the end of it. We're not going to be keeping lots of boxes to take to charity that we never take. If you're one of those people, put it in the bin, done. You know, because at the end of the day, we can't take on all these philosophies, you know, oh, but I've got to look after the environment, but I can't waste, but this is what's got you in this mess. So we either plan a day to go to the charity shop and move it and get rid, or you put a date in your diary, or you just throw it away, put it in the recycling bin. We need to move forwards. So let's get those clothes off the floor, sort through those. Now, what's in those boxes? Are they things that are going to be, is it going to be more clothes, which may well be stored in that spare room in a cupboard, or are there other items for the house? So, for example, I would, as soon as we're on clothes, if I know there's some boxes in there of clothes, I'll start on those. Open one box, go through it. Now, we like to do the yes, no, maybe pile. In this case, they've been in boxes, you know, you haven't been using them. Let's just go yes, no, yes, no. Now, okay, you might come across a garment that's like got a memory. Okay, so we can have a little memory pile. But just know that memory pile is not going to be, you know, we're going to have to sort through that. Because you do find your triggering item comes up. If these boxes of things that you're talking about have come from, you know, a move or the end of a relationship or something like that, you know, a lot of it you can just go yes, no, yes, no. There might be your thing that stops you in your tracks. So, okay, if there's something emotional like that, we'll put it to the side, but we're coming back to it. We're going to deal with it in a different way though. So yeah, so I'll go through the boxes. If I find that I've got kitchen utensils, I'll go down to the kitchen. Right, I don't need 2 of everything. I certainly don't need 3. So I've got this utensil here. I've already got 2. Choose the best 2 out of the 3, or choose the best one. Ditch the rest. Done. And you do it like that. You don't say, oh, but it's good quality. No, if it's good quality and the one you've got in the drawer is lesser quality, get rid of the one you've got, take the brand new one and start from new. That's how I do it. And you know, I think that's a really great place to start. You know, deal with the clothes first, then start going through the boxes and start organising where things go out of those boxes. Don't assume you're going to keep everything. Be, you know, yes, no function, gone. Yes, I know where it needs to go. Let's go. Okay, so we've got a plan. Okay, number 4. I've never been able to keep up a fitness routine. I don't feel like I can be bothered after a long day at work. What do you suggest? Okay, so I've never been able to keep a fitness routine. I wonder what you mean by that. I wonder if you mean a long-term fitness routine. Because quite often I find that people will start a fitness routine and then they let go, you know, and it happens to everyone. I mean, it happens to me as well. You know, I let kind of paperwork and other things take over, and then I'm like, wow, I haven't actually done any real dedicated fitness for a few days. So, and that may not sound like a long time, but, you know, obviously for me, I go through phases where I'm doing it every day. So to be able to say, oh, I've only done fitness once this week, and to be an instructor, you know, that's when I think, right, I know why, because it's been so hot. So I've been doing exercise at night. But anyway, okay, so, you know, so I wonder if you mean long term. If you're going to do anything long term, you've got to dig deeper. It can't just be, I need to do fitness, I want to lose weight, oh, I've lost the weight now, sorted, you know, I've reached my goal. No, you've actually got to find a way of incorporating exercise into it being something you associate with your time, your thinking space, your enjoyment. It, for me, fitness is a place where I go when I'm really like, there's a lot going on, there's decisions to make, and I'm like, you know, and I'm feeling quite stressed. That's when I go to fitness, because what happens is I move through the emotional zone and into the focus and getting, you know, into a more of a state of clarity, because you're moving out of the emotional. And, you know, so you may start off and you're crying and you're like, oh, I'm so awful. Once you get going, you're like, right, okay, how am I going to deal with this? And you're not thinking about it all the time either. Some of the time you're just literally, you feel, it makes you feel better despite what's going on in your head and what you're trying to work out. So I think you need to work out what your relationship with exercise is and what you want from it. I think the next thing to do is to say, you know, because you're, okay, people say to me, oh, I don't have time for the gym. But a lot of people have time to be depressed, and they have time to get upset, and they have time to cry, and they have time to feel, you know, like, oh, I don't want to face the world. When you have those times, that's where you can associate your exercise, because that's part of your managing that, having some kind of control over that, and also finding some clarity amongst the chaos. Now, for some people, it might be a case that they need to sign up to a class because it keeps them accountable. If that's what you want to do, if you want to say every Wednesday and Friday, I'm going to be in Katie Marie's Bounce on Beats class for 45 minutes, and that's where I'm going to be. So if anyone ever wants to go for drinks or anything like that on those dates, not happening, I'm in her class. That might really work for you, and that's great. And I love it as well, because I love when people come back, because that tells you as a fitness instructor they're having fun. So as a fitness instructor, I'm not, you know, I'm providing a class, so I'm not looking for you to come to 2 or 3 and say, oh, I've had enough now, because actually this is a form of activity for you to have a release, have some fun. It's social, there's other people, you know, so it's not something you actually want to cut out. But obviously having a coach with you working one-to-one, that's not a support mechanism that you have for life. That's, you know, something where you learn and you take their guidance and then you implement it in your life, and you can move forward quite happily doing it yourself. So that's kind of the difference. But so there's nothing, so, you know, so it's great if you have a class you love doing and you're very committed to it. But if you're not naturally someone that wants to say, right, stop, I'm going to do exercise, declutter and organize, perfect exercise, housework. Sorry, what does that mean? Hoovering. Do the hoovering. You know, dusting, clean the window. Even if you just say, I'm going to spend 2 minutes cleaning the windows, you'll stand back and be like, oh, they look so fresh. And it feels good, and it's burnt some calories. Equally, your hobby might be, you know, painting, and you like to paint landscapes. Go for a walk up a hill. You've had to do the exercise to get to the spot where you're now going to paint the landscape. So I think we can incorporate movement and exercise into our lives in so many different ways. And so I really think you need to think about, what does routine mean to you? You know, and what does a routine look like? Is it once a week? Is it every day? Is it when you feel like it? You know, and what do you lose from not having the routine? You know, if I was frustrated and upset and confused and I'm like, oh, and I didn't do exercise, I would just remain in this state where I'd be berating myself and confused and conflicted. But I don't have that, because when I get into that mode, I let it happen for, I explore it, and then I say, right, exercise time, or I'm going to clean my room, or I'm going to declutter the cupboard. And the one that I find really interesting actually is when it comes to decluttering clothes. I've said this in one of my videos actually. I've got some lifestyle videos up already from March, when we were doing also the clouds. We were doing what was it called? Spring in Your Step. So it was like the big spring clean. And I actually did a video talking about clothes. And one of the interesting things is, if you lose weight, you get a new partner, all sorts of different reasons, new job, you won't want to wear the clothes you were wearing 5 years ago. You won't want to turn up in the cardigan that you've sewn all the holes up, but you can see little patches. Because when you're put into an environment then when other people are well dressed, or other people present in a different way, it can actually make you feel very uncomfortable. Because you're like, oh, okay, well, actually, maybe it's not appropriate, or, and you might be like, oh, I'm absolutely fine. I don't care. Some people have an I don't care attitude about certain things. I don't care about certain things because I don't value them. So I don't care about them. I just think, well, I'm aware of it. I'm not interested. Moving on. But it really depends how you approach these things. Okay, so that's question 4. See, I need to, it's so good I have questions actually, isn't it? But yeah, so question number 5. Okay, I'm going to finish on this one because that's our 5 life. I get intense feelings of overwhelm and have to abandon things. How do I cope with my anxiety? Okay, so when you say abandon things, I assume you mean it could, projects, decluttering, organising, cleaning. It could be any of the things that I talk about. So we're going to look at it in terms of a project, like in terms of a lifestyle project. So let's say you're decluttering a room. So you abandon things because of overwhelm. I mean, there's loads of reasons why we get overwhelmed when we do these jobs. So it can be various triggers around us. So say we're decluttering and then we start coming up with objects. It's like, oh my gosh, I was 5 and I remember this, and that was when my friends, and now my friend's not around, and that's my grandma, and it's very activating, and it's, the mind's kind of like ping, ping, ping with all these memories, and then you're kind of like, oh, no, not today. That's one of the things that can happen. And I think, if that's really an issue for you, then I would recommend you work with a coach like myself, because that's the kind of thing where you really might, you could benefit from the support, and we can work on, going through your memories in terms of, storytelling, in terms of maybe, there's various different ways we can do it, but we don't need to, we don't want to do, I personally, different lifestyle coaches have different ways of, approaching things. Me personally, I don't think it's appropriate for us to I think that could be really challenging for you, having to declutter really personalized items, and I certainly wouldn't be pressuring you. I would want to, explore those feelings with you and listen to your story and listen to your memory, and we can think about how we might commemorate that memory in a different way, or how we might let it go and say, and you've enjoyed it again, and but that's something that takes work, and it takes patience, and it does take a little bit of allowing yourself to be pushed. So you are going to feel uncomfortable, you are going to get feelings of anxiety, and so you're going to have to have a level of trust with me as your coach, that I'm not trying to hurt you. I'm not trying to do anything, other than support you and get you to a better place, which is what you ultimately want as well. And I think that if you're not ready, you're not ready. If you need to say, right, I've spent 2 sessions with you and it's a lot, I need to step back, you know, you can go away for 2 or 3 weeks, see how you feel. Maybe you'll have some inspiration to do things on your own. Equally, you might come back to me then and say, right, I'm ready. Process some of the things that we did. I've got frustrated again with the things that frustrated with me, which is why I contacted you. I'm ready to have another go. And I'd be like, right, let's do it. Now, I'm not going to say, no, tried it with you before, didn't work. No, absolutely not. I know it's a process. And these are layers that we have to deal with. You know, it's not just cut your nonsense and let's go. Absolutely not. It's not nonsense. It's not stupid. It's not any of these things. You know. Anyway, so how do you cope with the anxiety? So you know, so take a couple of steps back. If you're talking about anxiety that's really getting to you, then as I said, you know, it might be like, you know, you have a good go, give yourself a breather and then get back on it. You're going to have to deal with it at some point. So, you know, it's always going to be a focus. It's always going to be, you can't ignore it. It's always going to be popping back up for you. So I think, you know, you might need a bit of space to think. But another thing you have to think about is that we need to feel uncomfortable emotions. And I think a lot in society today, people are trying to cushion themselves. You know, don't speak to me like that. Don't say that. You can't think this. You can't. And it's nonsense because people think what they think and they say what they say, whether they say it to your face or not. The difference is when people say things to your face, you know, sometimes their delivery isn't appropriate. But it's far worse to be inauthentic and fake what you think. I don't personally, I don't think that if I haven't asked for someone's opinion, I don't really think that they should be forcing it on me because, you know, I'm not interested, but equally, you know, I think that's why it's important to have a good relationship with your coach, you know, and if I don't think that we're going to have a good relationship, you know, I don't think we should pursue things because ultimately it's not going to be, it's not going to get you to a better place. But you do have to learn how to feel anxious and how to regain your composure and so that you can move forward. And I say this as someone who has been diagnosed with a panic disorder. And when I'm being overwhelmed by people and opinions and all sorts of things, I just have to take a step back and say no. And they say, no, stay with me, talk to me. I'm like, no, back off. I need to find my space. I need to find my rhythm, not your rhythm or the rhythm that I'm in because of you and everything you're saying. Now I have to find where I naturally sit and I have to think. And I have to think, is this, what do I want? What do I need? Does this feel right? What's my intuition saying? All sorts of stuff. So I don't take those bad feelings and say, I don't want to feel them, don't want to feel them, shut the door. I say, okay, I'm feeling these feelings. What are they telling me? What are they signifying? Am I paranoid? Am I anxious? Am I fearful? Or is my intuition kicking in and I know that this isn't right for me? There's all these things to think about. But if you don't experience your anxiety, and I personally like to experience my anxiety on my own. I don't want people trying to interfere and tell me to breathe like this. You need to breathe. I hate it when people tell me I need to breathe. I don't need to breathe. I mean, obviously I need to breathe. I don't need you to tell me that. What I need is quiet. I need space. I need to just myself. I haven't forgotten that I need to breathe. I am, you know what I mean? Just because it's become laboured, because I'm panicking, I do know I need to breathe, but I can't access my deep breathing because of the panic I'm in. And by you telling me to breathe, it's not going to change anything. What changes things for me is when I remove what's going on for me, power down, and then ask myself why that happened. Okay, and then, you know, if it's decluttering and organising, for example, we know it's happened, something's triggered you, but it's healthy for you to be decluttering and organising. It's healthy for you to be doing exercise. It's healthy for you to be, you know, changing some of your patterns. So ultimately, it's not like we're having a panic attack and saying, no, I'm going to keep on smoking. We're having a panic attack because we're dealing with something that makes us highly emotional, whether it's our weight or our bedroom that's full of stuff. And our first mechanism is, I don't want to do this, it's uncomfortable. But you know what happens once you've gone through 15, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, exercise, decluttering, house cleaning, writing in a database, you know, 20 minutes, you find your flow. Your endorphins start to go off, you start to feel rewarded. You start to look at what you've achieved. You go, I've achieved something. I could have sat here on the sofa going, ah. But no, I actually put my head into it. This is what 20 minutes or 30 minutes has given me. And look at how I feel different. And I think, you know, that's all I can really say. That's probably all I should say because I've been talking for ages. I thought I'd just run through them, give you a few pointers, but no, that's not the way I work. Well, that's because also, you know, if we're working on a project, I'm like, right, okay, we do this, we do that. But I'm not, I'm talking, so you can go everywhere. But I hope I've answered those questions to the people that sent them to me. And as I said, I'm answering questions through July. I am aiming to do the lives on Sundays. I was actually having technical issues this Sunday. We also had the England game. So, you know, by the time my technical issues stopped, I thought, you know what, most of the world is going to be watching the football. So, you know, I'm sorry to all you guys who weren't and who might have well loved to have listened to some Q&As, but to be honest, I was watching the football too in the end, because you know what it is. So I'm not massive on football. I don't like kind of what goes around football so much, but what I love is the sport itself. Especially being friends with a football coach, you know, you can really appreciate the exercise, really appreciate the talent, the skill, you know, these guys, their focus and motor neuron skills, balance, coordination, speed, agility, stamina. You know, some of them were playing the full 90 minutes. In fact, it was more than 90 minutes. They played 90 minutes plus stoppage time, plus extra time, plus penalties. So, you know, that is a long time to be in that heightened state. You know, their adrenaline going, you know, that kind of stuff. And the sports psychology, I think, is fascinating. So I actually found that really interesting to watch the game, and I could kind of see the American influences coming through in the coaching style as well, you know, in terms of the England team. So that's where I was this Sunday. But I did try, but you know, so yeah, so I mean, I will be doing my lives, but don't you worry, because as always, I always record everything and I'll put it out, so don't worry. You won't miss anything if you don't want to. Okay, then I'll see you for my next 5 questions. Ask a lifestyle coach, and I hope you have a great rest of your week. It's quite early in the week actually, so yeah, let's do this. Let's have a great one, and yeah, I hope I can inspire you, and I hope you're running to go and do some fitness now or some decluttering. If you're not, come back to my next 5 questions, and I'm sure you will then. Okay, bye.